Hello everyone, welcome back to, I think this is video 6 for our Parish 2030 series, talking about sort of where our parish here at St. Teresa of Calcutta has been, where we're going, what our plans for the future are. We've been talking about the sort of tests and the feasibility study that we conducted last year, and, over the last year, I should say. With me this morning is Tom. I'm Rob from the Leader Communications. You'll probably notice that Father is not here today. That is because as we speak, as Tom and I are recording this, he is on pilgrimage to Portugal. He's on his way to Fatima, Portugal, on a pilgrimage to Our Lady of Fatima. As some of you may remember, the statue of Our Lady of Fatima actually came here to our parish. We have connections there, and Father is there, sort of continuing to guide us spiritually here in Manchester and throughout the world. We have people from all over the country and around the world watching these videos, so I just want to be a little bit inclusive there. Yep. As we've been talking about for a while, we've been going over sort of our feasibility study, and while Father is away on pilgrimage, Tom and I wanted to come out today and just sort of run down where we've been, where we're coming from. So if you've watched every single video, you've got no questions based on what we've done. Then great, you can take a week off, review what we've done. If you are looking to explain to people, how do we get started, where are we going, there's a lot of information going on. This is probably a great video to tune into. And then next week for Pentecost, as Father had said, we'll have a lot of our sort of big plans and conclusions and some sort of conceptual visuals to go along with them, which is really exciting. But for right now, we wanted to start and go back, sort of go through very briefly, sort of video by video, and talk about some of the conclusions and where we're going and what we're doing. So until obviously Father gets back. Right. So where do we start? You might remember me from the first video, if you haven't seen me kicking around the parish for the last few years. Where we had done a really in-depth study on sort of where the parish has gone. So talking about major conclusions from that one, Tom, I don't even have to ask you for that one because I did the research there, right? Mm-hmm. Major conclusions, right? Our parish is very unique in that we are, despite national trends, and you hear a lot about sort of the national trends of Catholic attendance and all of that, we are actually growing here in Manchester, which is incredible. We're one of the largest parishes in the Archdiocese, and we're continuing to grow sort of in spite of those national trends, which is an amazing thing here in Manchester, and we're so proud of all of you for being so involved and for really understanding and connecting with the work that we've been doing here to really invigorate a sense of community. Speaking of that sense of community, though, the other takeaway is that unfortunately the priesthood is continuing to shrink at a rapid rate, and from the Archdiocese, from the new Archbishop himself, we need to plan for a future where we only have one priest. Right now we are blessed to have 2 to 3 priests, depending on the weekend, although still not enough to cover all of our masses, so mass schedules are going to have to change again just to make things feasible, right? And so the conclusion that we came to after looking at sort of the whole history of the church here in Manchester and where we're going and growing is that we need to get everybody under one roof in order to have a sustainable and feasible community, right? There's nowhere to go but into a singular community together, which allows obviously Father to whatever priest happens to be here, to do the things that priests need to do, want to do, to be our spiritual leaders, right? To be our guides, to build a sense of community, to talk to all of us, and that can't happen sort of as our community is right now,
and to have all communicants in one building, to have all of us as one family.
To have us all together as a singular community is wildly important for the health of the church and the health of our parish here. Not something we can do right now. So knowing that and knowing where we were going, knowing what all the trends were, we had, if you have any other, we have a lot more detail on that on our first video in the series. You can hear me talk all sorts of facts and figures and numbers. Going into the future, right, moving on to our second video, that was when we had discussed bringing together an outside architecture firm to conduct a feasibility study. Tom, you were pretty involved in that, so I think you can speak to.
Well, the goal was to get someone that was unbiased, not a person from any specific parish or even from the region, to say that this area was better or not. To have someone take a helicopter view without opinion. So we retain the services of urban architects out of Manhattan. They have a history of being able to consolidate services, whether municipal or department kind of thing. So we gave them all the information and then set out to get their opinions based on, what we were looking for as, like Rob said, to get everyone together for all the functions, all the functions of the church.
Exactly. Now, in some of our videos here, Tom and I today are going to be referencing a few things. If you're not sure sort of where these numbers are coming from, go back and check in the videos. We have, a couple hours at this point of us talking about sort of where we're coming from. But we decided at the point that we needed something in order to fit the needs of where our growing parish was going. We needed a building that was going to house 1,000 people. Now that was, again, we talked about this a few times, that's max capacity. That is not actually comfortable capacity. I know Father very specifically mentioned, some people mentioned to me after hearing that video, 16 inches, that's so shoulder to shoulder. You and I are not that close right now.
The 1,000 capacity is packed.
Yeah, right. So comfortable capacity would be about 750 people, and we wanted to make that scalable.
Thereabouts, right. We don't have a building that the parish currently owns that's able to do that.
So exactly, and we did analyze the buildings. So this is in our third video, right? We analyzed all of the buildings that we have and discovered pretty quickly, outside of they're aging, they're older, there are some issues with the different buildings. No single building, unfortunately, can comfortably hold our needs as a single community.
Correct. We did look at all the buildings from a physical standpoint, like maintenance wise and serviceability, and who had a new roof and what had a new boiler and all that kind of stuff, and they all seem to meet that need. But as far as capacity, one of the major hurdles is parking.
Yeah.
And the rule of thumb in zoning is 1 car per 3 people. So that that converts into about 350 spaces for a building to house 1,000 people. So that became the real restraint on the properties, and also where the buildings sit on the site. So we looked at Urban looked at all 4 properties and took a test fit kind of, look into that,
Exactly.
All properties and buildings, to see what we could do.
So if you're looking on the website right now at stteresacatholic.org/parish2030, where all these videos are held, so you probably know this already, but you can see the test fits there, or in our 4th video where we analyze the properties. You can see all of the Tom and Father go over all the test fits, show exactly what the needs are that we gave to urban architects based on all the facts and figures that we took from, based on what we know from video 1 and video 2, and everything that we gave to them is in video 4. You can see all the test fits of how things might actually work, what our properties have, what the strengths of some of our properties have,
pros and cons,
and what some of the downsides to all of our properties. One of the things I think that did get mentioned, but I really want to highlight, is not to sort of gloss it over, but the easiest thing to do for some of our sites would just be to demolish historic buildings, build something new, and move on.
Right.
But that was very specifically not our goal.
Right.
Obviously, some of our buildings have deep historic value to the town. And while, unfortunately, some of them we can't actually expand on or build off of in any sort of actual comfortable way, it was part of the goal here to preserve our most historic properties.
Correct.
Right?
The easy answer would have been to bulldoze, start with a flat site, and have a fresh start. That would be easy.
A lot of people, I think, don't understand, too, because looking through some of the numbers, and I think it was touched on I believe in video 4, a little bit at least, people go, oh, well, how about you put an addition on? Well, weirdly, it actually costs more per Urban Architects and some other quotes and things like that, it costs more to like expand on certain historic buildings than it does to build something new. Like truly, it doesn't. It's counterintuitive,
Yeah.
at least to me. I'm not an architecture expert. It's counterintuitive that that's what would happen. That being said, it is deliberately a goal, and it was one of Father's very specific goals, not to. I mean, the St. James Church, St. Bridget Church, both go back to the. I did a historic presentation about a year ago. They both go back to the early 1900s, right? Like right turn of the 20th century. To the very beginnings, and so obviously we didn't want to, we don't want to demolish the history.
Right.
That's
They're
that's
both a
attached to all
presence
that.
on Main Street. They're beautiful windows, the whole thing.
Exactly.
But to add on to them, systems-wise, heating, air conditioning, structurally, their accessibility. The elevation challenges on
Big
both those
accessibility
churches.
issues.
So we, again, Urban looked at all those things and the
Exactly.
pros and cons with, and with the other properties too, Assumption and St. Bart's. So
Exactly.
all
It's
four
been-
properties.
It's been really, really in depth. Obviously, like I said, we have hours of video at this point, and sometimes it feels like it barely scratches the surface of how in depth this architecture firm went. Who, by the way, were an absolute blessing,
Yep.
just beyond their expertise. Had personal connections within the firm to St. Teresa of Calcutta
Principal
herself.
of the firm, right. He's from Portugal, from Fatima.
So it felt like it connected
Yeah.
directly. So those are some of our, those are the very brief overviews of all the videos that we have out so far, right? On video 5, we talked about the specific test fits of how we put everything down after we had analyzed the buildings in 3 and the properties themselves in 4. Tom, if there's something that you would want everyone watching to take away, right, from any of these, if you had sort of a conclusion before we get to, because like I said, I know people are waiting sort of patiently for where we're going, right? What is happening? What is coming next? We do have conclusions to draw with Father gone, and we're working on sort of finalizing getting some visual details so that people can really see what the plan is and where we're hoping to go. I know my conclusions that I would hope people would take away are, but if there's anything that you would say after having done the test fits and everything video and talked to Father last week, what's sort of the highlight that you would want people to take away?
Well, I think the major thing is that this is a study on what's possible. It's a feasibility study. So, it is not a building plan to start construction on. We wanted to get some ideas on the table about what is possible, and this is for, there's a lot of buildings involved. There's rectory, there's the church, there's the schools. What is possible on the sites that we have as a parish, and again, from a outsider's point of view, and with the Archdiocese involved. They've been involved. We've talked to the town of Manchester. We've got zoning aspects. We've got traffic patterns. We've got parking issues. So all of those together, what are the possibilities? And that's really what we've been looking at.
A wildly complicated procedure from A to Z.
To get the best advice, rather
Exactly.
than having someone just say, look, I like this site, let's do it here.
The last thing that we want to do is go based on like, oh, well, this is feelings or whatever. It's really what are the needs of the parish, what is feasible to do based on what we have to meet the needs of the parish.
For the future.
Not just for now. That's the other point I was going to get to. Very well said. Is this is not I in meetings and stuff, and Father and I have talked privately a few times even. What we're doing now is sowing seeds for the future. This isn't even really for you or even I, or this is for my kids. This is for where we're going. We're trying not to just plan for the next 3 to 5 years. We're trying to plan for the next 50.
Correct.
So,
And this is talking about time schedule and all. This is going to be phased. While anything is under construction, naturally other buildings are going to have to take up the slack, and we're going to have to work around it together for several years, until this is all done.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
we're not even at the architectural phase of construction documents. We're just seeing at this point what is the best fit.
exactly. So, and we're a long way off from shovels and dirt. But obviously,
Optimistic and looking forward to a positive outcome.
Hopefully, yeah. So that's sort of why we've been doing these videos. That's why Father was so insistent on, doing these series, talking from the pulpit, letting people know, where we are and what we're going. The last thing that we want people to do is, drive past one of our properties and be like, what's an excavator doing there? Like, that's not where we're going. So,
And there's a reason why this is called 2030.
yeah, yes, exactly. Which is pretty far off, but also
Not that
quicker
far
than you
off.
think. Yeah, for sure. I guess the other thing that we'd want to have people take away, at least for me, right, is I know people have questions, and there are questions that we have the answers to that are going to be coming in next week and in the following weeks. But after that, there are questions that we might not have considered. People might have, or we might not have the answers to, and we'd love to just say, well, we don't know, the specifics yet because this is sort of a feasibility rather than a study. So we might have to be patient and wait for things. So if you do have questions, right, if you want to know, at some point, Father, Tom, the architecture firm, and I are all going to sit down. We're going to go through
Father
a list of
or
Q&As.
Tom, not Father Tom.
It's like, has he called you Pastor Tom
no,
yet?
no.
Okay, you wait a couple months. He'll do it. So what we're Father or Tom, the architecture firm, myself, we're all going to sit down, and we want to go through and sort of create a frequently asked questions, maybe on a video, list them on the site, so that you can just quickly go and look. But we can't anticipate every question that everybody's going to have. So if you have questions, if oh, I'm wondering about this. There are obviously things I don't know the answers to yet, or we can't speak to yet because no decisions have been made. But to the best of our ability, if you have questions, email them to me at communications@stteresacatholic.org. I'm always there. I'm in the office, Mondays to Thursdays. You probably see me at Mass on Sunday. You can stop me and ask a question, but I'm going to forget because I'm in the middle of Mass. So send an email to communications@stteresacatholic.org with your questions. And if we can, we will sort of compile a list of all the questions that we get, go through, answer the ones that we're able at this stage of the game. And if we can't answer those questions right now for whatever reason, whether we don't know yet, we'll look into it and we'll let you know. So I hope these videos have been at least somewhat helpful for everybody. Obviously, there's much more in-depth answers in videos 1 through 5 that runs through all the numbers and the site plans and the test fits and all of that. So if you're curious, please, just real quick, I'll run down the list again for people. It's right there on the website, stteresacatholic.org/parish2030. Video 1 is our facts and figures, where the parish is, where we're going, the reality of the archdiocese and the parish here in Manchester. Video 2 is how, so the process of contracting urban architects, talking about where we plan, and because some of this is, we've been talking about these things. This feels new sometimes, I think, for people, but this is something we've been talking about for nearly a quarter of a century. Like, there were plans going back to 2001 about, hey, here are the issues that are going to be facing the church. We need to do something about it.
And you have had a transition team active from all parishes.
Every parish, the original transition team, right, is built from not just both parishes from 2017, but all 4 churches that were here in town. I know previous priests and previous pastors here in town were consulted to, who are the members that were going to really speak for the needs of the parish here in town. We're trying to make this as parishioner focused as we possibly can. So we talk about that in number 2. Number 3, we analyzed the buildings. Number 4, we analyzed our properties. And then the previous video, the last one before this one, number 5, we really got to see the test fits on, each individual property. So, thank you for joining us today. If you have any questions, communications@stteresacatholic.org. Tom, thanks for joining me today.
You bet.
And let us all pray for Father as he visits Fatima.